the right time.
Good afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching Ask PQ on Bloomberg Quint Live. I'm Navneet Saluja D'Souza.
And I'm Alex Matthew. Well, this is the perfect show for you. If you've got questions on equity, you can send them in to us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp. You can also call us on 022-454-04141. Alternatively, you can mail us on askpq@bloombergquint.com. Just make sure to add the AskPQ hashtag.
All right, but before we get to the individual queries on the show today, let's tell you what's happening with the markets. Well, we did have a positive opening. Some bit of selling has been witnessed at higher levels since yesterday, but market seems to have bounced back, and Nifty is back in the green right now. 11,390. Bank Nifty also is just about sitting flattish. 27,900 is the level where Bank Nifty is. Let's just pull up the broader market indices as well. They too had corrected, but they're off the day's low, mind you. Both mid-cap as well as small cap index currently trading with cuts of 0.3%. Let's quickly tell you which are the stocks then which are capping the moves on the upside among the Nifty contributors. We'll just pull up that list for you. We've seen some result oriented moves also coming by. Well, these are the stocks HOEC, India Cements, Jain Irrigation from the broader markets. HOEC is doing pretty well, up 10%. India Cements, the numbers come out in few days, and remember, it's not about India Cements. I don't know, yesterday in the last hour we did see a rally coming in from most of the cement makers. ACC, Ambuja, Ultratech also up in trade, and Jain Irrigation sitting with gains of nearly 3%. On the losing side, you've got stocks like Captain Point, Avanti Feeds, Dixon Technologies, and also something like Adani Power. Sharp losses seen for all these four stocks, and all four of them are reacting to their earnings today. Adani Power down almost 9% in trade. I want to pull up the Nifty contributors list if we can and check which are the stocks which are contributing today. So Yes Bank, Asian Paints has been doing pretty strong. Maruti, Infi are the one which are trading in the positive territory. What's dragging the index lower? A couple of your heavyweights from the likes of Reliance Industries and TCS. Adani Ports, which is your top loser on Nifty, has reacted to the numbers which were not looking good because of the forex loss. Still, the stock's seen a sharp correction. Axis Bank, which was up yesterday, seen some bit of profit booking. And ahead of numbers, do keep an eye on these three stocks. TVS Motors, M&M, as well as PNB will be coming out with the numbers today, Alex.
PNB expected any time now, so watching out for those numbers. Our two guests for the day, Kunal, Rambhia is joining us in the studio. He's with the streets, and we also have Sandeep, Jain of Tradeswift Broking, who will be joining in very shortly. They're both here to answer your questions on the show. We've already got several questions in on social media, so I'm going to pick one from YouTube right off the bat. Shubham Garg is asking about PNC Infratech. He bought this for a short-term period. He's bought at 150. He's got 500 shares of this company, and he's asking if he should book profit at this point.
PNC Infra is looking fantastic. I mean, if he's able to buy it say around 150, that's a fantastic bet he's got. The advice would be to trail the stop loss to around 160 levels and keep the target of around 175 on the higher side.
Okay. That's the view coming in. I just want to address those numbers there on your screen. Madison Sumi Q1 numbers have come out. The profits have come in at 443 versus Bloomberg estimate of 500, and I think the stock's been reacting negatively post the earnings. The revenues are at 14,775 versus our estimate of 15,790. So both the top line as well as bottom line has seen has been lower than what the Bloomberg estimates were. 443 versus 278 was the profit figure in the corresponding quarter. We'll be watching out for the margins. In fact, for the first quarter, the street was watching out for some bit of margin expansion to almost 9.4 is what our poll was throwing about. But as of now, Madison Sumi down 2.5% in trade. Kunal, on the charts, how is this one looking?
Yeah, Madison Sumi is actually into upward channel. So if you look at the support line, that's coming at around 285, 290 kind of levels, and the breakout seems to be at around 325. So unless it breaches 325 on the higher side, I would stay short on the counter actually. And with the stop loss of 325, one can short, and the target can be say around 260 on the lower side.
Should we? All right, so let's take some of the questions that are coming on Facebook as well. Ram Hegde has gotten the fastest finger first here, and he's asking for feedback on Arvind with a 1-year time horizon. I don't think he's taken a position yet. The stock is currently trading about 3% lower at 406 levels. He's asking what specific targets he should watch for.
So if I look at the technicals of Arvind and if he is looking out for a positional target, then this stock is in consolidation from say around the range of 450 to 380 mark. So unless this stock is taken out on the either higher side or the lower side, I think we should be waiting for the breakout to come in. If I look at the monthly chart of the same, the stock is some kind of losing the momentum. So on the lower side, if the 375, 380 mark is taken out, I'm expecting a dip to say around 300 levels. And on the higher side, the cap will be say around 450 levels.
Okay, Arvind came out with the numbers yesterday, and probably what you're seeing is a result of the earnings reaction. The stock's down 3%, but not too much has happened in the stock in the last 3 months. I think Sandeep Jain's also joined us of Tradeswift. We'll take Bharat Bhushan's query. He's asking which one to choose among these AMCs, Reliance AMC and a stellar listing which HDFC AMC had yesterday. Well, there is a valuation gap definitely, Bharat, here. Let me check with Sandeep. What does he like? Sandeep, if you're bullish on the AMC space in India, which is largely under-penetrated compared to the developed economies, which one would you go for? One is a high pedigree, good management, HDFC, and the other Reliance, which is still trading around its IPO level.
Yeah, what I'll suggest is, one can wait for HDFC AMC to cool down. Actually, if you see, yesterday's listing was so hot, and the stock went up, and now today it is under that correction mode. So you never know, if it comes somewhere around 1650 to 1700, so then that can be a very good level to enter. And otherwise, I'm bullish with Reliance AMC also, because Nippon AMC is just getting affected because of the ADAG name. The problem with the ADAG in other companies is actually affecting the valuations here also, but still I feel that Reliance AMC is also a great company, one of the biggest in the segment, and as you said, the under penetration is a big opportunity here. So I feel one can go with Reliance AMC also, since it has actually gone up in expectations of a good listing of HDFC AMC. So one might wait for some time there also to correct, because today mid caps and small caps are a bit correcting also. So you never know if there can be 2 or 3 days of good correction. So there will be good opportunity to enter into these stocks. So I feel HDFC AMC should be bought somewhere around 1600 to 1700 to 1650 levels, and Reliance AMC can be bought at some correction of around 5 to 7%. Yeah.
In fact, there were actually a few viewers on Daybreak today that were asking which the best pick is in the AMC space. Clearly, a lot of people interested now with the HDFC AMC IPO. But let's take a short-term query. Abhishek Rai on YouTube is asking about Yes Bank. Let's pull up that stock. He's bought at 320 for the short term, so he's making a sizable profit. He's bought at a good level seemingly. He's asking if we should hold or book profits.
See, Yes Bank actually at 320, so he must be speaking about a month before something. So there was a level which was around 200 days moving average. So if he's holding that, it's advisable to trail the stop loss to around 360 and keep the position open. The stock has shown a fantastic recovery in last 3 days. So keeping this trailing stop loss of 360, you can expect the new high very soon on the counter.
Okay, that's Yes Bank for you, 4% higher in the last 7 days. Sandeep, PNB numbers have come in. They've reported a loss of 940 crore versus Bloomberg estimate of 2335. That's the estimate which Bloomberg Terminal was throwing about. In fact, let's wait and watch out for the NI number. Remember, we were watching out for NI figure of somewhere about 3555, which would have been a growth of almost 7 to 8%. But right now, what we're getting on our screen is only the profit number 940 versus Bloomberg estimate of 2335 crores. Some bit of positive reaction definitely seen for PNB. Remember, we'll be also watching out if there is any sort of write back of provision with regard to the Bhushan account now, considering Tatas have picked up that account. So if there's any sort of write back, that's going to be a positive news. And not to forget 2,800 crore, which was infused by the government in the last quarter into PNB. So we'll get you more details, but very quickly, do you want to take a technical view on this one, Kunal?
Yeah, definitely. Honestly speaking, yesterday itself we had a long call on PNB. The idea was to go long with the stop loss of around 85 on the lower side. The major trigger is coming at around 94.75, 95 kind of levels. I'm expecting the stock to reach around 110 in short span of time.
Okay, I think we've got the NPA details here. 18.26 versus 18.34 sequentially. Marginal improvement definitely seen as of now with regard to the asset quality. And remember, this improvement will be on back of certain ride back that one was expecting, at least for PNB for the quarter gone by. Alex, while I just try to open the press release, I think we can just take one more query.
We can take another query. Yeah. In fact, let's take Aditya Nair's query. He has a question on Sun Pharma. Sandeep, you've been advocating the pharma space. Aditya has bought Sun Pharma at 685 levels, so he's seen quite an erosion in the capital that he's employed in this particular stock. He's asking if this is the current level to average, and he doesn't mind holding for the long term.
See, for long term, I think he should keep on holding, and in fact, for averaging, I think he should wait for some time, because if you see, it has actually gone up from 450, 60, 70 levels, I think, to these, it has come up to these levels. So, since the time I have been recommending this sector or these stocks, I think they have all appreciated by 30, 35%. So, I think, one should wait for doing that averaging. But still, I feel that, there are some other good pharma bets also one can look at. But as far as Sun Pharma is concerned, I think he should keep on holding it. And if it comes somewhere around, say, 525 or 50 levels, he can think of averaging that.
Okay, just shifting focus back to PNB, the net NPAs are also flashing, and on a sequential basis, the asset quality has improved. But remember, that's just a marginal improvement. 10.5 is the net NPA versus 11.24, which was seen in the corresponding quarter. I've got the provisions number here with me. It's 5758 for the quarter that we've seen, and obviously the provisions are lower than if you compare it from the last quarter, and that was known because last quarter they had provided higher provisions as well. So probably a majority of the provisions were factored in, and this time around it's 5758. But we need to get more clarity with regard to any sort of write back which has taken place or not. But definitely the NI growth will be the other factor. But the asset quality has seen a bit of improvement. If I look at the gross number of the NPAs, it's gone down sequentially and also on year-on-year basis. If I look at the gross number of the net NPA 2, that's seen a decline on both sequentially, but on year-on-year basis, obviously there's been a rise with regard to the net NPA number. Asset quality looking just about fine. The stock's now seeing some bit of correction. Are you gathering any more details, Alex?
So if you're talking about asset quality, even on an absolute basis, not looking at the percentages on the asset level, you see a reduction in the absolute level of gross NPAs, which would indicate some sort of recovery or some
PCR,
sort of...
I think that's gone up 61.8. I don't know, they've not given the comparison here. So the PCR coverage ratio,
if your absolute number of gross NPAs has come down, your PCR level would climb naturally.
That's 61.8, and well, 1.6% lower is what we are seeing for the stock price. It is not reacting positively as of now. But let's get you more details with regard to the fine print of the numbers. Shraddha, waiting by for the NI growth and any other details if you're seeing in the press release?
Yes, so Navneet, I'm going to start with the NI number. Yes, a very, very strong about a growth coming in on NII. 4692 crores is the number that has come in as compared to estimates of about 3,500. Another good factor in this quarter is that the bank has reported an operating profit in this quarter, because in the previous quarter we had seen a loss of about 450 crores. The net loss has come in at 940 crores, much lower than what even the best of street estimates was actually there. To some extent that has been aided by a tax write-back of 623 crores. If I talk about the gross NPA number on an absolute basis, it has gone down by about 4% sequentially, and the ratio, if you look at the GNPA ratio, ratio is more or less flat. More importantly, what I was watching out for is the capital ratio. So the capital adequacy ratio stands at 9.62%, and out of that CET1 is at 6.05%. It has risen from that 5.5% sort of levels that it had reached in the March quarter because we have seen some capital infusion coming in from the government in July. Nevertheless, it still remains below the requirement of 7.37%. Loan growth has come in at 4%, and otherwise the deposit growth has remained flattish. In terms of the dispensations that they have used, they've said that they have charged 63 crores of the unamortized portion towards gratuity in this quarter, and they have deferred about 126 crores. That apart, with respect to frauds, I'm just going to read out what they have said. They've said that the bank has made a provision of 1,863 crores in this quarter. So they were expected to make about 7,178, 50%, that is 7,178 crores towards fraud. That provision they had taken in the March quarter, and they were going to divide the rest, 7,178 crores, over the next 3 quarters starting June. So they have taken a slightly higher provision of 1,860 crores in this quarter, and the remaining they've said that will be made over the next 2 or 3 quarters. Even when it comes to the mark-to-market provisioning in this quarter, they have said that the remaining M2M losses of about 1,200 crores have been deferred to the future quarter. So overall, more or less, we don't have the slippages number, but at least on the first looks of it, the numbers look like they are relatively all right, Navneet.
Okay, Shraddha, I think in terms of NII growth, which has been better than what the street was estimating, and also asset quality, the provisions have gone down on a sequential basis, which was largely expected. So those 2 parameters are looking positive, but we'll still wait by for more details. And I believe the stock too has seen a bit of, it was down 1.5%, but we're seeing some bit of recovery coming by for the stock as well at 89. Sandeep, very quickly, any thoughts on the numbers that we're seeing in terms of Punjab National Bank?
See, there are some positives also in the numbers, and I think, since the stock has actually been beaten down and corrected a lot, so one can certainly hold the stock, and I think things will get better only, and there are some good positive news also relating to the PNB housing finance sales and all. So I think one should hold on to the stock rather than buying the stock, and if it corrects from here, so there can be some opportunity, but otherwise I think it's a mixed kind of result, and there are some positives which the market already has discounted in the prices also.
Sandeep, would you recommend a fresh buy? You said people who have the stock in their portfolio can look to hold, and by now we know how the stock is corrected. It's obviously trading below its book value as well. But would you recommend somebody to buy the stocks now at these lower levels, considering we've seen most of the provisions being factored in?
See, somehow if I have to recommend a stock from this particular segment, yes, bank, so I think I will still prefer BOB to PNB and SBI, since SBI has actually run up in last few sessions. So, one can wait for SBI to come down, but then POB and PNB, PNB is not a good bet somehow for a fresh investment, but BOB and SBI, they can be bought on declines once the market gets corrected. Maybe the market has actually heated up. So I feel that, there may be some correction in next 2 to 3 days. So at these times, I think one can certainly enter into, BOB. The kind of results BOB posted were fantastic. So I have more conviction in BOB than PNB.
All right, we also have Gaurang Shah who's joining us on the phone line. Gaurang, just a quick view. If you've seen the headline numbers, seemingly an improved or better than expected NII and also asset quality improvement. If I'm not mistaken, your call was to bet on PNB for the long term. How are you reading the numbers, and what would you advocate with regard to a fresh bet on the stock?
So, Alex, good afternoon to all of you all. That conviction still remains, and I think after numbers, what we are witnessing for the quarter gone by only reinforces our confidence that there could be turnaround. Visibility turnaround is there in the numbers. This turnaround, Alex, will take at least about 3 quarters or maybe more to meaningfully justify the uptick in stock prices at a reasonable level. Point number 1. Point number 2, one has to also remember that since the stock is absolutely beaten down, all upsides of 3, 4, 5% on the counter will be witnessed with counter selling pressure because people want to exit who've got who's got stuck in the stock from a short to medium term point of view. This stock we are recommending for people who have high risk appetite, and with a caveat that there could be another 10 to 15% downside in case if the numbers for the coming quarter disappoint. So just be positive. The only thing is patience, high risk appetite, and principled approach in terms of staggered buying is what we would recommend.
We'll also have to watch out for the management. All right, Gaurang, we'll wait for a little more clarity on those numbers to come in. Meanwhile, we'll wait for the management commentary as well with regard to just the guidance as to how the recovery scenario is panning out. Thanks so much for joining us on that. Let's move on and take a couple of more questions. Thanks so much for staying with us through that. Everyone's looking forward to PNB numbers here. I'm going to go back to Sandeep on just a couple of questions here. Harsh Kumar is joining us. He's asking for a fundamental view on a couple of stocks, South Indian Bank and Apollo Tyres. He's asking for a fresh entry, whether it makes sense with a 2 to 3 year time horizon. What's the view here, Sandeep?
Tire stocks somehow will do well. Anyways, I'm quite bullish on the whole auto ancillary segment and the kind of volume growth the auto gave in the last month. So I think it's at already 5-year highs. So one can certainly look at, tire stocks. But in tire stocks, somehow I have been more bullish on, TVS Srichakra tires. Somehow I feel that that's a big ticket price stock. So 3,000 plus, I think, price is there. So, generally it doesn't catch the attention of the regular investors. So I feel that can be a good stock. Goodyear Tires can be a good stock in this segment. And somehow Apollo Tires, since it is an F&O, so it is more of a trading bet than an investing bet for me. So someone can buy this stock, but on decline somehow, because it has also run up. And the second stock was South Indian Bank. If one has to buy a private sector bank, and somehow I feel that, one should buy the likes of, Kotak Mahindra Bank, because it has also actually corrected after that news of that preference share issue allotment and all those things. So I think one should buy Kotak Mahindra Bank on declines, IndusInd Bank, because IndusInd Bank somehow will do well in the future also because of that Bharat Financial merger also. So I feel these are the two banks in private sector banks. And Yes Bank can be bought on declines. And if one has to buy from a trading angle, Yes Bank is also a good bet, but not South Indian Bank. I will recommend to anyone to buy at these levels also.
Okay, that's the view in terms of which stocks Sandeep likes at current levels. I'm just going to quickly take our next query on IRB Infra. Let's just pull up that stock. Saurabh Pathak writes to us. He's bought 500 shares at 250 with a short-term horizon. And the current price is, I think, 55 rupees lower than Saurabh's buy price. He wants to know, should he hold or book losses here? Kunal, what would you recommend him to do?
So from the short-term point of view, IRB Infra is again has been a channel of say around 260 to around 180 levels on the broader horizon. The stock is near to the support itself, so if it's advisable to actually average out at this point of time, keeping the stop loss of around 180 on the lower side, and expect the stock to recover to around 240, 250 in say a couple of months.
So not to book losses, you can in fact average.
Yeah, exactly. This is a price to average out.
All right, so we've got a short-term query on Reliance Industries. Ujjwal Kumar is asking whether it makes sense to enter Reliance Industries with a short-term view, and he's asking for a stop loss and a target. It's off its all-time high. It's currently trading at 1,182 levels.
Correct. So what we have seen in Reliance Industries is that a couple of days back it made a high of around 1,200. Yesterday again it tested the same level itself, and now it's showing some kind of weakness on the chart. I think if someone wants to take a short-term view on the same, then should wait for around 1140, 1150 mark to come on the chart. Once that price comes in, then the risk-reward ratio turns out to be favorable. We can go long at around 1140, the stop loss of around 1100, and then expect the stocks to continue the momentum on the higher side.
Okay, that's Reliance Industries for you, seeing some profit booking in today's trading session. Our next query is from Rishabh Tiwari. He's bought 1,000 shares of KNR Constructions. Let's just pull up that stock. His buying price is somewhere about 250, and he is looking at it from a longer term horizon, 229. So some bit of correction from the buy price. He wants to know, should he hold or sell? Sandeep, fundamental view on a stock like KNR Construction, if somebody's bought at 250, would you recommend them to hold on to the stock?
See, he can hold on to the stock. Somehow, I'm not very bullish on the whole, infrastructure companies, because the problem with them is the quality of their balance sheet and the debts. And since the dollar is actually appreciated and rupee has devalued, so kind of, pressure is there on their balance sheet also in terms of higher interest outflows. And so somehow KNR is a good quality company from this space. And still it can be, he can hold on to the stock. But I won't recommend a fresh buy in any of these stocks in this segment. I'll be very choosy. And if I have to go with an infra company only, so that will be L&T at declines. Otherwise, I won't recommend any of these Ashoka Buildcon or KNR Construction, though I used to recommend them, ILFS Transportation Networks. One stock I like from the segment is again ITD Cementation also. So these are good quality stocks though, but still, the market they are not fancied in the market, and somehow there are no investors who are actually chasing these kind of stocks, because there are FMCGs and ITs and all these stocks which are better option. Pharma stocks can be a good option, auto can be a good option. So actually, this is not attracting the investor fancy.
Right. All right. I'm going to prioritize the intraday query that we've got. It's from Manikant. He's taken an intraday position on Hindalco. He's got a buy. 700 is his quantity and his level is 220.39. The stock is currently at 218.5.
So looking at the intraday chart, the stock has actually corrected from the top, keeping the stop loss of around 216. It's a very short-term view, but yeah, you can expect around 225 mark by today's evening session itself. The second half, I'm expecting the stock to reach around 220 kind of levels.
Okay.
Well, Hindalco is also in focus as Aleris came out with the numbers. Remember, Aleris is a company in US which Novelis, the subsidiary of Hindalco, is looking to acquire, and the numbers were better than what the street was estimating. Well, on that note, I would like to thank all our viewers, and apologies too, we could not address most of the queries because of the earnings, but please do tune in tomorrow and send us your queries. Thank you very much, Kunal and Sandeep, for joining us and helping our viewers with their queries today. Well, that's all that we have on this edition of Ask PQ.
As always, gentlemen, ladies, it's been an absolute pleasure. Please do join us tomorrow. You know how to get in touch with us. For the queries that were discussed on today's show, though they were a bit curtailed, you can log on to the website bloombergquint.com and search for the hashtag AskPQ. Up next on Bloomberg Quint Live is Power Lunch. Do stay tuned for the PNB numbers.